Hey guys, welcome back. First of all, I want to thank everybody so much that showed up to the Sunday live stream yesterday. That was great to see so many familiar names in the chat box. If you missed it, don't worry, it's still up on YouTube for you to watch. And if you want to join in, the next one is next week at 12 noon Mountain Standard Time. So, the vlog for today is I'm going to be re-ranking Star Wars. Now that the saga is over, I'm going to be ranking the Star Wars saga, plus Solo and Rogue One in some instances. Now my rankings have changed a bit over the years, but after viewing and reviewing and watching and rewatching the films endless times, this is my final ranking, and I'm going to be ranking them in 3 different categories. First of all, films with the highest technical merit, meaning cinematography, special effects, acting, etc. And then I'm going to be scoring them according to best contribution to the Skywalker saga, so that's just going to be episodes 1 through 9. And finally, what I see is the most important ranking of Star Wars, the ranking according to the most enjoyable, meaning the ones I could pop in and rewatch, and how much I enjoy them, even if I rewatch them often. So, in other words, something of their rewatchability. So, we are starting off with highest technical merit. I know I may get some argument with this, but I'm starting at 11 and working my way down. Number 11 on the list of highest technical merit for original theatrical release is A New Hope. Yes, I know I may get panned for this, but the original theatrical release of A New Hope, while it was groundbreaking for the time, today it is sort of slow-paced. The script, while good, could be a little bit better. The best bits of the script are definitely the anything delivered by Sir Alec Guinness, and those iconic one-liners like "May the Force be with you" and all that, and the lines spoken by Han Solo. That's definitely the best part of the script. Sadly, the rest of the film, especially those haircuts with the long mutton chops, those have not aged well. The story of New Hope is still, of course, excellent. But when it comes to technical merit, sadly, it hasn't really aged all that well, especially when we get into the special editions. Those effects are kind of like, and I know I'm talking original theatrical release, but I have to put New Hope at the bottom. That's not to say the effects are bad, they just haven't aged all that well. Number 10 on the list of best technical merit is Solo. I may be biased, but the lighting for that one, and the scripts, and the direction, that one, those 3 combined, I have to say, kind of killed the film for me. That and the story was very blah, so that one I had to put near the bottom. I don't know, maybe I should put Solo below A New Hope, even though the special effects in Solo were hard to see. They were a little bit better. I don't know. It's controversial, I know, but still, I just did not like Solo in any aspect. Number 9 on the list is The Phantom Menace. While, of course, when it was originally released in 1999, the special effects were, of course, groundbreaking, as they are in every Star Wars film. But I have to say, looking at the CGI especially for the droids and those big battle sequences, and some of the creatures, I'm sorry to say, like the Rontos and the other animals on Tatooine, it definitely hasn't aged well. The editing is still pretty good, and of course sound and all that, but it's just the effects that drive this below the others. And of course, right above that, at number 8, is Attack of the Clones. Again, some of the effects haven't aged as well as they could have. It's been, oh my goodness, it's been 18 years since that film came out now, and it's definitely effects have gotten better since then, but you can see which things are digital doubles and which ones aren't. There were still a lot of models built, but all the blue screen, all the green screen. In particular, with the DVD release of Attack of the Clones, there's one scene that, once I've seen it, I can't unsee it. It's when Anakin, he's lost his arm and he's gotten up, In the DVD release, somebody made a boo-boo with the compositing, with the blue screen sleeve that was on his arm. In a few frames, you can actually see the sleeve over his arm, like, whoops, somebody made a boo-boo that made it past editing. It has since been corrected in the other releases, but like I said, once you've seen it, you can't unsee it. So I was like, oops, blooper. Number 6 on the list of highest technical merit is The Force Awakens. The effects are, of course, excellent, and I love the use of practical effects and actual location shooting. It was really nice to see a return to that, but I have to say the editing wasn't as good as some of the other Star Wars films, mainly because it did not keep the wipe transitions. This is just personal opinion. From here on out, it's just going to be my personal opinion on which ones I thought were the best done as far as cinematography and direction and acting goes. Right above The Force Awakens is Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. That one, the biggest problem with that one was, again, the editing. It seemed very choppy. The beginning was all over the place. I mean, once you got to, again, like in Force Awakens, once you get to Rey, everything smooths out a little bit. It gets a little bit better, a little bit smoother, but it was still very rushed, and it could have benefited from a longer runtime. So that's why Rise of Skywalker is in that spot. In the number 4 spot is Return of the Jedi. The original theatric, that actually has the best effects. They have aged the best of any of the original theatrical releases of Star Wars. They still hold up today. The space battle is still mind-blowingly awesome. I mean, the only thing that kicks this below the others is the acting was not quite up to snuff. Right above Return of the Jedi, as far as technical merit goes, is Revenge of the Sith. It's amazing. It was made in 2005, and the effects still hold up. There are a couple shots that are a little bit wonky with digital stunt doubles, but other than that, especially the animation for Grievous and Yoda, it looks totally, totally real. And the editing's really good. I mean, especially cutting between the death of Padme and the birth of Darth Vader is genius. And the way it wraps everything up with that final shot on Tatooine, it is beautiful. It is absolutely gorgeous. Still holds up today. That's why it takes the number 3 spot. Just above that in technical merit is Rogue One. That's mainly because of acting and cinematography is some of the best, if not the best, in the entire franchise. It's so well done, so well shot and edited. Well, not editing, but it's so well shot and acted, and the story is really good. The sound effects and the music are excellent. The effects are still incredible. And the only thing that kicks it to number 2 is the fact that, like Rise of Skywalker, the editing for this one was very choppy in the beginning. It didn't really get good until we met the rest of the members of Rogue One. Up until that, it was kind of all over the place. It was very disconcerting. But other than that, excellent, excellent film. And I know I'm going to get arguments for this, but highest technical merit of any Star Wars film, at least in my opinion, is The Last Jedi. Looking at how, especially cinematography in The Last Jedi is absolutely drop-dead gorgeous. It's the kind of thing that, it's basically a work of art as far as the cinematography goes. And some of these shots, I mean, the long shots, establishing shots, the editing, the effects, it is just beautifully, beautifully shot and wonderfully acted. I'm going to have to say that. So as far as technical merit goes, number 1 in my rankings is definitely The Last Jedi. And I know I'm going to get a lot of argument for this, but all of these rankings are just my personal opinion, and I hope you don't roast me too bad for them. Okay, this next ranking is probably going to be the most popular because I think some of these are the most popular opinion. But, next category in ranking Star Wars is Best Contribution to the Skywalker Saga. And starting at number 9 is, surprise, surprise, The Last Jedi. That one definitely ranks lowest for contributions to the Skywalker Saga as a whole, just because of how I guess because of how out there it was and how out of character certain characters were portrayed. Now, this was corrected at the very last minute, but it wasn't soon enough to give it a really, really good contribution to the Skywalker saga as a whole. It is a film that, if you enjoy episodes 7 and 9, you can skip it if you want. It's not a necessary thing to watch. Number 8, as far as best contributions to the saga, is Episode 7, The Force Awakens. Again, this was, the main thing it had to offer was introducing the new characters of the new generation of heroes. But beyond that, the contribution to the overall Skywalker saga, I don't know. I really, really don't know about that one, so I had to put it at number 8. Number 7 is Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. It stayed a little bit truer to the mythos of the Force, and it added some new Force powers that we've never seen before, so that definitely added something to the mythology of Star Wars. But as far as the Skywalker family themselves, again, I feel like it did them something of a misservice because of, like, oh, another Skywalker, boom, turn to the dark side. Okay, it's a little bit, I mean, even under the influence of evil, it's still kind of like, that's the one thing that annoys me about canon, whether it's Legends canon or original canon. It's like, oh, you're a Skywalker, automatically being tempted by the dark side. Man! Number 6, best contributions to the Skywalker saga is the Phantom Menace. Again, like Force Awakens, it was the first in a trilogy. The introduction of characters, that's what the first movie in the trilogy is usually for. And we get introduced to a very young Anakin and find out the beginnings of his origin story, and a young Obi-Wan. So, and we also get to see the Jedi in their prime. That's the main thing the Phantom Menace has to offer the saga. But again, if you don't want to watch it, it's not something that's absolutely, I believe, essential to the Skywalker saga as a whole. So that brings us to number 5 on the list, Attack of the Clones. Attack of the Clones, we get to find out, if we start with Attack of the Clones and go in what they call machete order, that definitely works to tell the story of the Skywalkers. And, we get to see Anakin as a Jedi, as he was talked about by Obi-Wan. We get to see his struggles, his strengths, his weaknesses, and how he ends up falling in love and marrying Padme, and so we get the parentage of Luke and Leia right there. Number 4 on the list is A New Hope. I had to put this in the top 5 somewhere. Probably should have put it in the top 3, but this is, again, just my opinion. Biggest contribution to the Skywalker saga. This is the one that started it all. This is the one that first introduced us to Luke Skywalker and Princess Leia and Darth Vader, and started telling the story of their family. At first we thought, oh, this is about Luke Skywalker and his hero's journey. Second trilogy pretty much is. But, yeah, as the one that started everything, the original, I could not put it any lower on the list. Number 3 is Return of the Jedi. That's where we finally get to see the redemption of Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker's final rejection of the dark side. He decides not to follow in the footsteps of his father, and he's like, no, never. I'll never turn to the dark side. And he basically discards his aggression and anger in that moment. And that's a really, really good pivotal moment for the saga as a whole. That's why it's number 3. Next, number 2 is Revenge of the Sith. This is the one where everything goes to Mustafar, literally and figuratively. We see how Anakin Skywalker becomes Darth Vader. We see the death of Padme and the birth of the twins. And the loose ends, at least from episodes 1 through 6, are all tied up in a neat little package. And it ties Episode 3 ties the prequels to the original trilogy beautifully. In my opinion, just going from episode 3 to 4, it's still flawless. It's absolutely beautiful. And finally, the number 1 best contribution to the Skywalker saga, at least in my opinion, is, no surprise here, The Empire Strikes Back. This is the one that had it all. When it ends, it's like, oh gosh, the bad guys won. One of our heroes is frozen in carbonite. We don't even know if we're ever gonna see him again. Luke lost his hand. He gets a bionic replacement, but still, that's a traumatic thing for him to go through. We find out his father is second in command to the most evil guy in the universe, and you leave the end of it feeling like, oh gosh, everything's gone to heck. How are we gonna get out of this one? So, not only from a storytelling standpoint and the contributions to the Sky, but not only not only from the contributions to the Skywalker saga as a whole, who can beat that familial revelation? It's been imitated, but it will never be surpassed. Whew. All right. Okay, if you're still with me, or if you skipped ahead to the timestamp, I'm finally moving on to basically my personal ranking as far as enjoyability goes. We're not looking at technical aspects or anything else, just how enjoyable the movies are to watch multiple times. And I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me on a lot of this, but I'm going to keep this as short as I can because I know this has dragged on for quite some time. If you stuck with me, thank you so much. But at the bottom is Solo. Since this is a positive channel, I'm not going to get into the details of why I dislike it. I already stated that on my review of Solo, but it's, I'll put it this way, I couldn't even watch it twice. That's why it's at the very, very bottom of enjoyable Star Wars for me. Number 10 on the list is The Phantom Menace. I've already spoken of the pluses and minuses of this one. This is one of those movies, one of those rare Star Wars movies that while I will watch it multiple times, I can't watch it all that often or I just get bored with it, I hate to say. Number 9 on the list, Attack of the Clones. Again, it has some problems and there's places you can sort of skip. It does move faster and has it's a little bit more exciting than The Phantom Menace, which is why it's a step above. Number 8 on the list, I may get roasted for this again, but so be it, is The Last Jedi. While technically speaking it is a beautifully shot film, there are things about it that I really don't like. It's kind of exhausting emotionally for me because I love the character of Luke so much, and Luke's reunion with Leia turns me into a bawling baby every single time. So it's one of those films that I can't really watch all that often. I will willingly watch it all the way through and enjoy at least most of it. But it's something I don't want to watch that often because it's just, it is so exhausting. The same with number 7 on the list, Revenge of the Sith. And absolutely emotionally exhausting, and it does have some fun moments, especially in the first half hour. But with the last half of it, that's where the poodoo starts to hit the fan and things get really dark and Jedi are dying and it's just like, oh, it's so sad. So again, not a film I like to watch all that often simply because it's emotionally exhausting. Number 6 on the list of most enjoyable is Rogue One. Like I said, the editing's a little choppy, but once it gets enjoyable, we're introduced to the characters, it's much better. It's a film I like. Especially the end battle. The only trouble with this one is the ending is so depressing because so many people died. It's like, So again, for my emotional sanity, it's not a film I watch all that often. Number 5 on the most enjoyable is The Force Awakens. Yeah, it has a few problems, but it's just plain fun. It helped recapture the spirit of fun in Star Wars. That's something J.J. Abrams is really good at, I have to say. And Force Awakens, it's just, once they get past the thing on Jakku and once they get past the capture of Poe and to the escape, and especially once we're introduced to Rey, that's when the film really takes off and it's just a fun movie to watch. It might be silly, it might be jokey, but hey, it's fun and that's what I love about it. Number 4 on the list of most enjoyable films is A New Hope. I rank this one above Force Awakens because even though I enjoy watching them about evenly, A New Hope does not have the death of a character that I absolutely adore. Even though Obi-Wan Kenobi is a really, really great character, I'm not one of those people that grew up watching them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I grew up watching them 4, 5, 6, then 1, 2, 3, and then 7, 8, 9. And old Ben is not a character that I cry for, because, like, okay, yeah, he dies, boom, becomes a Force ghost, is still guiding Luke. It's not, it's weird. As attached as I am to Obi-Wan now, he's still not a character that I mourn his death, because he's still around, and he had a long, full life, and besides, the way he went, it was an act of self-sacrifice to save Luke and Leia, and probably Han, too. Number 3 in the list of most enjoyable Star Wars. I know I'm going to get panned for this, but I don't care. I love it. It's The Rise of Skywalker. It's one of the few Star Wars films where immediately after watching it, I just want to watch it again and again and again. Granted, it is still a fairly new film. I have only seen it all the way through twice. I'm planning on expanding those numbers when I can. But again, J.J. Abrams knows how to put fun in Star Wars, and The Rise of Skywalker is a lot of fun. Number 2 on the list of most enjoyable is The Empire Strikes Back. Now, I know a lot of people state this as their favorite. As far as technical aspects go, this one's definitely my favorite. It's my favorite one as a wannabe filmmaker. To me, it seems like the most balanced of the films. It's very well put together. But the only thing that keeps it from being totally enjoyable is, of course, Luke losing his hand. And since I love the character of Luke so much, I hate to see him hurting. And finally, the Clumsy Jedi's number 1 most enjoyable Star Wars film is Return of the Jedi. That's probably no surprise. It's been my favorite Star Wars film since I was about 5 or 6 years old because of the Ewoks. And story-wise, I love it because we get the redemption of Darth Vader and finding out, oh, Luke isn't the only Skywalker, he's got a sister! That's great! And Han is fine, and he and Leia ended up getting together, and no major characters die except for Darth Vader. But again, it's an act of self-sacrifice to save his son. And it's a wonderful thing to see that the story arc of Darth Vader's finally closed, and we get the happy ending that... I just love the happy ending, too. I mean, if you end the saga with Return of the Jedi, it's sort of like the end of a fairy tale. You know, they all lived happily ever after. And I'm totally fine with that. So, yeah, Return of the Jedi, still my favorite depiction of Luke. I just love it. I love it so, so much. So, anyway, guys, that has been the Clumsy Jedi's very long-winded 3-tier ranking of the Star Wars cinematic films. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more family-friendly Star Wars content that's positive, go ahead and click that little subscription button down below. Don't forget to check out the links in the description box, and before you leave, don't forget to ring the notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. Question of the day. If you were to rank the Skywalker saga as a whole, which would be at the top and which would be at the bottom? If you can do this without bashing any of them, that would be great. Just list them from bottom to top, and that would be just perfect. But you can say which Star Wars movie is your favorite and why. So, I will see everybody again on Wednesday. If the weather holds, I'm really hoping to get back into some lightsaber training, even though with the social distancing thing I have to do it alone, but we'll see what happens. So until then, God bless, and may the Force be with you.